Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Katha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Part 1. Naraji learned of the Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Puja. Many years ago, Sage Shonakaji assembled 88,000 holy rishis, munis, sages and sants in the forest of Namisha. They were gathered to perform a yajna, a prayer that would last 1,000 years for the benefit of mankind. At this gathering, a great son called Sutta narrated story from the Sukanda Purana. During the course of events, Shonakaji and other sages considered the suffering of people during Kali Yuga. This then prompted them to ask Sutaji, "O wise and learned Rishi Muni, during Kali Yuga, people are enduring terrible suffering as a result of their previous action. Please kindly tell us, is there anything they can do to relieve their sorrow, live a happy life, and attain moksha?" Sutaji was very pleased to hear this question, particularly as it was for the benefit of ordinary people. He replied, "You have asked a very good question. I will tell you the answer that Narayan-ji gave to Brahma Rishi Naraji when he asked the same question. Settle down and listen carefully to this story. Once upon a time, as Naraji was traveling through the universe singing Lord Vishnu's praise, he arrived on earth, the home of mortal, Mritloka. Seeing human misery and suffering, he became greatly distressed and tried to think of solution to ease their troubles. But no answer came to him, so he decided to consult Vishnu. Naraji went to Vishnu Loka and addressed Vishnu as follows: "O Lord Narayan-ji, you are supreme and all-knowing. You are without beginning or end. You are the preserver of the good and protector of the universe, ever devoted to your follower. I pay my humble respect to you." Vishnu smiled. He knew that Naraji did not visit him without a purpose and replied, "Dear Narad, speak openly and tell me why you are here." Naraji replied, "I have just returned from Mritloka, where people are suffering terribly from their karma. Their sorrow builds up day by day, and they know of no solution to ease their troubles. Oh merciful Lord, please tell me, is there a way to bring an end to their suffering and grant them happiness? What can they do to release themselves from their pain, achieve their goal, and ultimately attain moksha?" Vishnu replied, "Dear Narad, you have asked a very good question. I will tell you about prayer that has the power to destroy and free the devotee from sin and grant him a happy life. It is a Shri Satyanarayan Vrat, and by doing this prayer and fast, they will achieve all their goals, experience pleasure on earth, and ultimately attain moksha." He continued, "The prayer and fast need only be kept once a month, ideally on the day of the full moon, but any day will do. The devotee is to fast all day, abstaining from salt and grain. In the evening, he should prepare prasad. Then he should assemble his family and friends and chant mantras, prayer and sing arati to Satyanarayan Bhagwan. At the end of the prayer, all the people assembled should be fed again given prasad. Money should also be donated to charity. When they pray, they should promise not to hurt anyone, to always try and help others, and be thankful for the health and happiness they possess. During the day, the devotee should try to be good and kind to other people. They should remember and chant the name of God, be it Rama, Krishna, Narayan, or any other. They can sing and aloud or within. By being considerate and thoughtful, they will naturally give happiness to others and receive happiness, peace and good health in return. Performing the Satyanarayan fast will relieve suffering and sorrow. It will bless the devotee with wealth, wisdom and children. It will allow them to achieve overall victory and increase their devotion. In Kali Yuga particularly, this fast will prove beneficial very quickly. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai. Part 2. Where is Vishnuloka? When Sutaji finished narrating the conversation between Lord Vishnu and Naradji, the Rishi chanted, Narayan Narayan, Om Shri Narayan. They then asked Sutaji, please, can you explain where Vishnuloka is? If Vishnu is omnipotent and exists everywhere, where does Naradji go to see him? This is another good question. Sutaji replied, it is true. God Vishnu has no bodily form. He is everywhere, but more so within those who see him in everything. Those who are good and kind, considerate and polite, helpful and honest. Those who think of the need of others before their own. Those who love him, pray to him, are conscious of him every minute of the day. And those who are ever grateful for their blessings. He resides in the blessed heart of these people, the soul of Bhagat, yogis, Mahatmas and Sant. This is Vishnuloka. Those who can meditate and look deep within themselves can find God, then talk to him. That is how Naradji reached Lord Vishnu. The Rishi then wanted to know the meaning of Satyanarayan and the significance of the Vrat. Sutaji explained, Satya means truth. Narayan is the name of the Supreme God in his infinite, all-pervading form. When we fast, our body gets an opportunity to rest. It also makes us think of those less fortunate than ourselves and those who have no food. It also makes us thankful for what we have. God always looks after those who love him, trust him, and remember him. Become conscious of God as he is always watching over you, and doing so will lead you to peaceful and happy life. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai. Part 3. Gautam the Thief. The Rishi now asked Sutaji to explain the benefit of the Vrat. Sutaji replied, Satyanarayan is one name for Vishnu. His other name is Sat Chit Anand. Sat or Satya means truth. Chit means mind. Anand means happy. If you pray to be truthful, Satya, your mind, Chit, will be happy, Anand. By telling the truth, a person will be unable to do wrong and thus have a clear conscience. A truthful person will be trustworthy and respected. Honesty may result in short-term loss by handling a lost property or money, for example, but it will lead a long-term gain. God will be pleased with you and help you. Let me tell you a story from Gautam. There was once a poor dev called Gautam who lived in the village of Rajpur. Once in a while, he would go to satsang. He would listen to the teaching of the visiting Mahatma Sant. The Sant knew Gautam was deaf, but Sant tolerate all people and do not turn anyone away. Instead, with the power of their love, they tried to improve them. Once after the satsang, the Sant called Gautam over and said, "Gautam, why don't you stop your thieving ways?" Gautam replied, "On Santji, stealing is my profession, and I do not know of any other way to feed my family. If you know of another way, please tell me." The Sant replied, "You can change by doing the following 3 things. Always tell the truth. Pray to Satyanarayan, the God of truth, every day before you set on your daily task. Try and attain satsang or spend a few minutes contemplating God every day. If you do these 3 things, you will attain peace and happiness with the blessing of God." Gautam happily agreed to try and with a great resolve succeed in following the 3 rules the Sant had advised. Shortly after, the Sant travelled on the another town and sent a message to Gautam to come and visit him there. Gautam had no transport, so he decided to steal a horse from the king. As he approached the stable, a guard stopped him and asked what he was up to. Gautam, remembering his promise to the Sant, told the guard that he was a thief and that he needed a horse. The soldier laughed, thinking Gautam was joking, and led him by. Gautam chose a fine black horse, saddled it up, and rode out of the stable. Another guard approached him and questioned what he was doing. Again, Gautam spoke truthfully and said, "I have stolen this horse so I can visit my guru." Again, the guard thought Gautam was joking and let him ride on. Gautam rode all day and arrived at Sant's temple that evening. He tied his horse to a tree and entered the temple as the Satyanarayan Puja was being performed. Meanwhile, the king guard realized that Gautam had actually been telling the truth. The king ordered Gautam immediate capture and sent a guard after him. When the guard arrived at the temple, they saw a horse tied to the tree, but this horse was white. They waited for the puja to finish, then watched the people leave. When they recognized Gautam, "Did you steal this horse from the king's stable?" they asked. Gautam replied, "I did steal the horse from the king's stable, but that one was black and this one is white." Gautam was arrested and taken before the king, where he explained about his promise to do 3 things every day. To tell the truth, pray every day before his daily work, and pray at the end of the day. Gautam told the king how he had learned that God's name could be remembered at any time in any place. "Stop for the moment," he said, "and thanks God for all you have and ask for his blessings. If you have done something bad, ask for his forgiveness. Simply pray by repeating his name. Any will do. Chant it aloud or within. By doing so, God will always be with you." The king was moved by Gautam's words. He decided there and then that Gautam was not a thief and wished to reward him for his inspired word. Gautam asked only for the horse so he could visit his guru. The king granted his request and decided that he would also follow the 3 rules Gautam lived by. Gautam stopped stealing and started a small business that prospered and grew with honesty and hard work. After his state, he attained moksha. No prayer is greater than truth, no sin greater than lie. Where the heart is full of truth, there is a Lord reside. A truthful person will be free of all sorrow, sin and worries. Such a person will not be afraid of anyone. He will have the confidence and faith that God is always watching over him. Shri Satyanarayan-Bhagwan-Ki-Jai. Part 4. Swami Satyananda. The Rishi now asked Sutuji to tell them about people who have prayed to Satyanarayan during age of Kali Yuga. Sutuji explained, once a long time ago, a holy man by the name of Swami Satyananda went to the village of Nampur to perform the Satyanarayan Puja for the benefit of the people. The people were very anxious to learn of this prayer as they had never heard of it before. On the day of the full moon, the Swami arrived and the people gathered together with their family to hear this prayer. When he arrived, they all stood up and bowed before him to welcome him. The Swami was old, but his face had a wonderful glow, and all those who looked upon him felt peace and happiness. Today is the full moon, and it is a day of fasting and prayer. The Swami began. This is a day when Lord Vishnu told Narad-ji of the Satyanarayan Puja for the people of Mrityaloka. The villager asked, "Who is Satyanarayan?" And the Swami explained, Satya is truth and Narayan is God. God is everywhere and within everyone. Whenever there is too much sin, He comes to destroy the wicked and relieve the suffering. He came as Ram to save the people from Ravan. He came as Krishna to destroy Kansa. He came as Guru Nanak to teach people to be good and kind. The Swami explained how to be good and honest person. Speak truthfully and accurately. Speak to the point and do not exaggerate. If the truth will cause pain, consider your word and the right moment to speak. In your daily life, do not talk too much or unnecessary. Do not talk about others or criticize people. See good in others. We all have fault. Look for their good point. Keep your promise. Do not disclose secret belonging to other people. If you have done something wrong, try to correct it and ask for forgiveness. Praise others for the good they have done. By giving happiness to others, you will receive happiness yourself. Work hard, be thankful for what you have, and humble about your achievement. Always perform your daily prayer. It need only take a few minutes. In the morning, when you wake up, ask for His blessing, and at night, thanks God for His mercy. The people were inspired by the word of Swami. They went on to perform the Satyanarayan Puja and continue to perform the prayer and fast every month. Shri Satyanarayan-Bhagwan-Ki-Jai. Part 5. The Brahmin and the Woodcutter. The Rishi asked Sutuji to speak of other people who had performed this puja and explain how to avoid worldly temptations. Sutuji explained, happiness lies in honesty, simplicity, and God. Realize God is everywhere, and God is our mother and father. We can ask Him for anything and He will answer from within. Our life is different if we have a faith in God. It leads us to happiness. Be with God and be for God, and you will be forever blessed. Listen now. to the story of people who kept this fast before Kali Yuga. There was once a very poor Brahmin man who suffered from terrible difficulties but benefited greatly by performing this fast. This poor Brahmin name was Shantanu, and he lived in a town called Kashipuri. He was penniless, barely able to feed himself or his family, and spent most of his day wandering about trying to collect bhiksha. One day, seeing his pitiful state, Vishnu appears before him disguised as an aged holy man and said, "Dear Brahmin, your life is very hard. Collecting alms in this way, how do you find time to make living and support your family?" Shantanu replied, "Dear friends, I have no work, and this is the only way I can feed my family. If you know of a way to change my fate, please tell." The holy man replied, "Dear friends, turn your attention to Satyanarayan-ji, and your trouble will come to end. Lead an honest life and remember him, and he will keep you in his care." The holy man carefully explained who Satyanarayan-ji was and how the fast was performed, and concluded, "By doing this rite every month," he said, "you will overcome all your sorrow and ultimately attain moksha." So saying, the holy man went on his way. Shantanu decided that he would perform the fast and next day and return home to explain all he had learned to his family. That night he could hardly sleep thinking of Satyanarayan-ji. In the morning he woke up determined that he would do the fast that day with whatever alms he could collect, as the Lord is always there to help with noble thought and deed. That day Shantanu received more money than he had ever done before and bought all the necessary things for the prayers. That evening he gathered his family and friends. Together they prayed and ate the prasad. They began to perform the fast every month, and day by day the Brahmin's circumstance began to change for the better. He overcame all his troubles and became a prosperous man, leading a comfortable life. Without fail, he and his family remembered and observed the fast and prayer to Satyanarayan-ji. It was on such a day that they were visited by the poor old woodcutter, who was parched with thirst from working in the heat of the sun. He knocked on Shantanu's door and asked for some water to drink. Having appeased his thirst, he observed that the family were performing prayers, waiting till the prayer had come to end. He curiously asked who they were praying to and what were the benefit of the prayers. Shantanu gave the woodcutter some prasad and happily explained that they were praying to Satyanarayan-ji and how it had improved their circumstances. The old woodcutter was very pleased to learn of these prayers and decided that he too would perform this fast. As he left Shantanu's house and set on his way, he decided that he would use the money that he earned today to prepare and perform the same prayer. That day, the woodcutter earned 4 times more than he had expected. With his money, he bought banana, ghee, yogurt, milk, flour, and sugar, all the things required to prepare the prasad. When he returned home that evening, he prayed to Satyanarayan-ji with his friend and family, sharing and eating the prasad. Just as the Brahmin had done, the woodcutter prayed and fasted every month, and his circumstance improved each day. He became prosperous, led a happy life, and ultimately attained moksha. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai. Part 6. The Merchant Who Wished for Child. Rishi and sage continued Sutuji. Now I will tell you the story of someone who did not keep his word about performing this fast. There was once a very wise and benevolent ruler of Kanakpur called King Uklamuk. He and his kindly wife Queen Subhadara would go to Satyanarayan-ji temple on the bank of the river Badushala every day. Here they would pray and give charity to the Brahmin and poor people, earning their love and respect. Once a month, the king and queen would perform the Satyanarayan-ji fast for the benefit of the people and the kingdom. On one particular occasion, they were celebrating this fast at the mandir with many of their subjects and kismen. Together, everyone sang and praised of the Lord. The joyful singing and prayer drew the attention of the traveler, jewelry merchant called Sadhu, who was heading home after the successful business trip. Curiosity aroused. He moored his boat and entered the mandir to inquire about the prayer. Approaching the king, Sadhu asked, "Majesty, what great prayer are being performed here today with all these people? What are you praying for? And what are the reward of this puja?" The king explained that every month on the day of the full moon, he performed the Satyanarayan-ji fast and shared the prasad with all the people. He explained it, the benefit of the prayer and how he hoped to be blessed with a child. Sadhu replied, "Sir, I would also like to perform this fast. Please explain what I need to do." The king told him the details of the puja and gave the merchant prasad. Thanking the king, Sadhu continued on his journey. When he arrived home, he told his wife Lilavati all he had learned about Satyanarayan-ji. He conveyed how King Uklamuk explained how to perform the fast and its great benefit. He went on further to say that if they had a child in the near future, he too would perform the Satyanarayan-ji puja. Shortly after with Satyanarayan-ji blessing, Lilavati became with child and due course gave birth to a beautiful baby girl they called Kalavati. Sadhu and Lilavati were overjoyed and celebrated the birth of their daughter with a great lavish. Lilavati, remembering the promise to Satyanarayan-ji, gently reminded her husband about the puja he said he would perform. But Sadhu replied, "Let us not be hasty. There is plenty of time. Let us wait until Kalavati grow and married." Just as the moon grew and bright during Shukla Paksh, 16 years passed and Kalavati grew into a beautiful girl. Seeing this, the merchant realized it was time to arrange his daughter's marriage. He sent his servant far and wide to look for a suitable husband. In their search, they arrived at a town called Kanchanagar, where they found an eligible match. He was a young man of fine qualities, also the son of a jeweler. In no time, the marriage was arranged and performed with a great pomp and ceremony. Again, Lilavati reminded her husband of the promise to perform the Satyanarayan-ji fast. This time, Sadhu agreed. Yes, it was time to fulfill his word, but only after returning from a business trip with his new son-in-law. Seeing that the merchant was failing to keep his word, Satyanarayan-ji decided that something needed to be done. Far from home, Sadhu and his son-in-law arrived in the beautiful town Ratampur. They set up stall with their beautiful ware in a bustling market, confident that business would be brisk. Unknown to them, that day the thief had been committed the royal palace of King Chandraketu. Thieves had stolen valuable jewel and were being hotly pursued by the royal guard. Seeing Sadhu's jewelry stall, they decided to abandon their loot, casting it among his ware before making their escape. When the guard arrived at the stall, they immediately recognized the king's jewel and arrested Sadhu and his son-in-law. King Chandraketu remained deaf to Sadhu's pleas of innocence. He confiscated all of Sadhu's jewel and ordered from him and his son-in-law to be locked away in the dungers. Back in the merchant hometown, Lilawat also experienced misfortune. The house was robbed, and over the coming weeks, they lost their position and were soon forced to beg for food. Then one afternoon, while Kalawati was out, she came across a Brahmin home that was preparing to perform Satyanarayan-ji prayer. She was invited to join and receive prasad at the end of the puja. When she returned home, it was dark. Lilavati had been worried and asked, "Kalavati, why are you so late? Where have you been?" Kalavati explained that she had been invited to join a family to perform Shri Satyanarayan-ji prayer. All at once, Lilavati remembered her husband's promise. She immediately decided to perform the Satyanarayan-ji fast the next day, praying with her friends and family. She asked Satyanarayan-ji for a safe return of her husband and son-in-law. Satyanarayan Bhagwan heard Lilavati's prayer. That night, he sent King Chandraketu a dream telling him to release the merchant and his son-in-law. He told the king that his prisoners were innocent, that all their possessions should be returned and they should be sent home. Otherwise, the kingdom faced great peril. The king was shaken by his dream. On his waking, consulted his wizard, who advised him to obey his dream. That day, the merchant and his son-in-law set sail for home aboard a fine boat with attendant. Both dressed is rich with a ship full of treasure. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai. Part 7. The merchant fulfills his promise. Sutuji explained to the rishis, Satyanarayan helped the merchant out of trouble, but the merchant still need to understand the significance of the fast. He continued, the merchant and his son-in-law were well on their way home when they decided to moor the boat and buy some provision. As they were resting on the bank of the river, Satyanarayan-ji arrived, disguised as an old holy man. He asked the merchant, "What are you carrying in your boat?" Sadhu thought that the holy man might ask for bhiksha. He was in no generous mood and lied, saying that he was only carrying leaf and hay. The holy man, being Satyanarayan-ji, an all-knowing, replied, "So be it," and went on his way. Sadhu was pleased to see the back of the holy man, and when he was out of sight, boarded the boat to gaze upon his treasure. But when he lifted the cover to his precious cargo, he received a shock. The gold and jewel had all vanished and been replaced by hay and leaves, exactly what he had told the holy man. Sadhu cried out in shock and alarm, regretting of his lie. He fell unconscious to the floor. When he recovered, he recalled all that had happened and began to cry. "Father," urged his son-in-law, "do not distress yourself so. The holy man must have caused this turn of events because we lied to him. He could not have gone far. Let us search the forest and seek his forgiveness." The merchant agreed to this plan, and together with their attendant started to search for the forest. Several hours later, they eventually found the holy man Sitting under the tree, Sadhu humbly approached him and apologized for lying to him. The holy man replied, "O merchant, I am Satyanarayan. You have failed to keep your word to perform the Satyanarayan puja. You have been consumed with yourself and have not understood the importance and power of truth. No prayer is greater than truth, no sin greater than lie. Where the heart is full of truth, there is Lord reside. Because of this you have been punished." "Dear Lord," replied the merchant, "you are the remover of sorrow, the bestower of blessing. Please forgive me. I promise from today that I will never tell a lie, and I will always perform your fast and prayer every month." Hearing this, Satyanarayan forgave the merchant and restored his lost treasure. It was late now, so Sadhu camped on the river bank that night and contemplated all that had happened. The next day was Purnamashi, the day of the full moon. Staying true to his word, Sadhu performed the fast and prayer with his son-in-law and attendant. Only after eating the prasad did they continue on their journey. As they neared home, Sadhu sent one of his attendants on ahead to inform Lilavati they were about to arrive. Lilavati and Kalavati were overjoyed to hear the news. That day, they too had also performed the fast and were finishing off their prayers. Lilavati completed her prayer first. She took her prasad and said to Kalavati, "Dear daughter, I am heading to the river bank to greet your father. When you have finished your prayer, come and meet me there." Kalavati completed her prayer soon after, but was so eager to see her father and husband again she forgot to eat her prasad. Before heading off, when she arrived at the bank, she was horrified to witness her husband fall overboard and the boat keel over sink to the bottom of the river. Kalavati wailed and grieved in despair. Sadhu instantly realized that something was gravely wrong and humbly invoked Satyanarayan-ji. "Dear Lord, please forgive any mistake my family or I have made." In response, the merchant heard a voice say, "Sadhu, your daughter has not completed my prayers. Tell her to go home and eat her prasad. When she returns, all will be as it should be." The merchant reassured his daughter and told her what she needed to do. Kalavati quickly ran home and prayed to Satyanarayan-ji. She ate her prasad and then returned to the bank, as if everything she had seen before was a bad dream. She arrived to see her father and husband standing on the bank with the boat safely moored. The family returned home together and offered sincere and devoted prayer to Satyanarayan-ji. From then on, the merchant and his family pray and fast every month and enjoy a happy, blessed life. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagwan Ki Jai. Part 8. The Story of King Tungdwaj. Finally, Sutuji said, "Let me tell you a story about the importance of respect. In Kaushalpuram, there was a king named Tungdwaj who was famous for his generosity and welfare towards his subject. But one day he invoked Satyanarayan-ji Vrat when he refused to eat the prasad that was lovingly offered to him. The king and his company had gone out hunting on horseback. Tungdwaj spotted a tiger and gave chase, separating from his companion and guard. After a long and fruitless run, he ended up a humble cow herding village, where he decided to rest and wait for the others. As he sat under the tree, he observed the villager performing the Satyanarayan-ji puja, but failed to pay his respect. On complex of the prayer, the villager offered prasad to the king, but he refused to accept it, thinking them too low. When his companion arrived, he mounted his horse and headed back to his kingdom. They followed the familiar route home, but were shocked and stunned when they arrived to see their beautiful city in ruin. Nothing remained standing. Your Majesty, spoke to wizard, what happened to the village? It is possible that you may have caused some offense that has resulted in this misfortune. If so, we should return and offer our sincere apologies. I am sure if we do so, the kingdom would be restored. King Tungduwaj immediately realized his mistake. His pride had prevented him from paying his respect at the mandir. His arrogance did not allow him to accept the prasad from the villager. The royal company headed back to the village where the king humbly apologized and together with his men offered prayer to Satyanarayan-ji. Only after eating the prasad did they start their journey home. This time, they were delighted and relieved to see their magnificent city standing it was before. From then on, the king always prayed to Satyanarayan-ji and fasted every month. He too lived a blessed life with his family and ultimately attained moksha. Sutuji continued, whosoever perform the Satyanarayan-ji fast will benefit in the following ways. Their worries, sorrow and anxiety will be destroyed. Their home will be always be plentiful. Those who wish for children will be blessed with a child. They will achieve what they wish for and they will ultimately attain moksha and freedom from the cycle of life. All the people that have done this fast before have enjoyed happiness in subsequent birth. The poor Brahmin Shantanu was reborn as a Sudama and lived his entire life in the service of Lord Krishna and attained moksha. King Uklamukh was reborn as King Dasharatha, the father of Lord Rama, and attained moksha. The merchant Sadhu was reborn as King Mordhwaj, who offered his son to the Lord and attained moksha. King Tungduwaj was reborn as Kevat, who took Lord Rama across the river and attained moksha. The rishis were very happy to hear the story of Sutuji. They performed the arti, took prasad and returned home. In the year to come, they spread the word of Satyanarayan Puja to hundreds of people who went on to live in peace and contentment.